Have you ever been hacked? Have you ever been embarrassed because you accidentally caused your company to be infected with a virus? Do you know a business or a friend who has lost money because they've been hacked? Hardly a day goes by without some business or person being negatively affected by a security breach. Small businesses have even gone out of business, and large organizations have had their stock price badly affected as a result of a security intrusion. Did you know that at the time of recording, statistics say that cybercrime is responsible for over $450 billion in lost revenue? 27 billion of that was lost by UK businesses alone. Bad guys have purposely designed software that can bring your business to a halt. It is no defense to just rely on your IT support, your firewall, or your antivirus to protect you. Security breaches are so prevalent that today the probability of your company being infected is simply a matter of time. But these security intrusions to your personal and business life doesn't have to be all doom and gloom. My name is Ben Chai. I am the Media Director for Lanix UK Limited, a company dedicated to the automation, enablement, support and protection of your business processes and your data. In this short presentation, we will share with you how you can protect yourself, your colleagues and your company by taking some simple precautions. We will not be reading all the words on every slide, so please feel free to pause this presentation at any time should you wish to read any of the presentation slides in more depth. Let's start with looking at the threat landscape. Now, it may seem incredibly large, but actually the threat landscape is only governed by three areas: people, processes, and technology. Your IT department or your outsourced IT company, such as Lanix, will sort out your processes and technology. But we can't prevent you from letting security breaches occur to your company. Did you know that over 95% of all security breaches involve human error? Now, that's a study according to IBM, but they're not the only people who've done these kinds of studies. Gartner Group and many others also have similar statistics. Why is that? Well, here are some common misconceptions that we need to overcome. The first one: I'm too busy to think about security. Well, if you're too busy to think about security, just think about the amount of lost hours that you will have because your systems are down while your security team, your IT company, are trying to resolve the security compromise. Perhaps it's too expensive. Well, remember that 95% over that has involved human error. So in this presentation, we're actually going to show you how to reduce the cost of security by ensuring that your people and yourself are aware of very common mistakes that people do to allow these security breaches to occur. I am PC compliant and have a firewall, so we can't be breached. Well, again, back to the statistics. It doesn't matter about the firewall or how compliant you are. Over 95% of all security incidents involve human error. How about this misconception? I'm too small for hackers to bother with. I'm only making a couple of £100,000 a year. Why would the hackers attack me? Why don't they go after the big guys, the Starbucks, the eBays, the Amazons, the Googles, the Microsofts? Well, because you're an easier target. Perhaps the misconception in your company is that security is an IT problem, and so it doesn't concern you. Well, the fact is, again, 95% over this amount has involved human error. That's you and me. So security really is everyone's responsibility. And in this short presentation, we're going to show you some very basic things that you can do to prevent your company from being hacked. Let's share a little story from World War II. Now, in World War II, there was a machine called the Enigma crypto system. It was used by the German forces to prevent their messages from being snooped on, and they relied very heavily on this. It would take 1,000 operators 24 hours a day using 4 keys a minute, 900 million years to try to crack their system. However, the Allied forces easily cracked this code due to human error on the German side. Their users were not trained correctly, or they used easy-to-guess ciphers, such as girlfriends' names, or shortcuts, such as AAAA, or QWE, or 123. What can we learn from the Enigma scenario? Well, first of all, the Allied forces exploited human weaknesses. These weaknesses are trust, naivety, obsessions, and vanity. The German leaders initially didn't properly train the operators. Training and education is a vital component to safeguarding your informational access and your informational assets. German leaders would simply not believe that their Enigma crypto system was being cracked. And that was the ego. That was the vanity. You can't assume that because you spent 1,000 or 10,000 or 100,000 or £1 million on IT safeguards that your systems cannot and won't be cracked. Now that we understand that human error is a big aspect of your business being compromised, let's look at how the bad guys get in by looking at some of these attack vectors. An attack vector is simply a method by which a hacker or a bad guy can gain access to your computer or mobile to gain access to your precious data, such as your credit card details or passwords and usernames. Here are some of the common attack vectors. We won't go through each one of them, but if I can point out to you a few of them. Social networking, such as your Facebook and your LinkedIn. You may have important data in there, such as your birthday, where you live, and even posts about the fact that you've left the building or you've gone to a different country, which makes your home vulnerable to the bad guys if they're spying on you. The other one is your mobile device. Now, lost mobile devices are causing immense problems to companies because those mobile devices have very confidential email, contact lists, and all sorts of credit card and banking information. So how can we protect against these attack vectors? Well, let's look at the IT security best practices that affect you and where you can help defend your company. Before we go into those best practices, understand that the key component to breaking your security is some aspect of social engineering. Now, social engineering is simply the ability to exploit our natural inclination to trust people. And social engineers manipulate people into performing actions or divulging confidential information using attacks such as baiting, phishing, spear phishing, pretexting, and scareware. Please Google some of those terms so that you understand what they are. Let's look at where you can help defend your company and your personal details. Number 1, don't ever be tricked into giving away confidential information. For example, don't respond to emails or phone calls requesting confidential company or personal information. Always keep in mind that bad guys are successful because they are convincing. Recent news stories have reported cybercriminals are tricking people into giving information away using fake IT support calls, claiming that they're going to help you. So keep on guard and report any suspicious activity to your IT department. Now, some of that suspicious activity may not just be fake IT support calls. They may be a bank calling you to tell you that your username and password has been compromised. So could you give them some details to make sure that they're calling the right person? It may be that you've had an email from a good friend which has an attachment, and you click on the attachment and it downloads some bad stuff which will compromise your computer. And that brings us on to number 2. Don't use an unprotected computer. Now, that could be your friend's computer, it could be your son or daughter's computer. So whenever you access sensitive information from a non-secure computer, you put the information you're viewing at risk. There is malicious software that may exist on your friend's computer which will easily allow bad guys to snoop on whatever it is you're doing online, such as putting in your username and password. If you're unsure whether the computer you're using is safe, just don't use it to access your corporate or sensitive data. Talking about data, number 3, don't leave sensitive data lying around the office. This data could be in the form of printouts, it could be private information on your desks, such as passwords stuck to the monitors or keyboards, or even a blackboard. It's really easy for visitors to glance at your desk and see, or even the bad guys to take out their smartphone and take a picture of what's on your desk. So do keep your desk tidy, keep your documents locked away or shredded if you don't need them anymore, and operate a clear desk policy to reduce those information leaks. Another way to prevent information leaks is to lock your computer and mobile phone when they're not in use. For example, you could put a screensaver or a lockout if you haven't touched the keyboard or your mobile screen or clicked on a mouse within 5 minutes. This is one great way to lock your computer and mobile phone when they're not in use. So just ensure that when you're not using these devices, that they automatically lock themselves to keep personal information and company data from prying eyes. Talking about prying eyes, do stay alert and report suspicious activity. Be cautious of people you don't know asking for things, especially if they're asking for you for things online. Even people you do know, it doesn't hurt to double check. And we mentioned that if you get an email from someone you know with an attachment or link, then please just call them in advance before you click or download the attachment. Make sure that they sent it. If you get a call from a bank and they ask you for details to verify who you are, don't reply. Ask them instead for a number that you can call them back on and make sure that they are who they say they are. And finally, if you see some strangers walking around on your premises, do challenge them. You may never know who you might find. And if they say they're a cleaner or an IT support person, do ask them for some identity. We've had companies that we support have all their laptops stolen through cleaners or window cleaners or security guards. So do challenge these people. If you find a lost memory stick or phone, remember, don't plug them in. Just report them to your IT department, because sometimes cleaners and security guards may leave USB sticks lying around your offices so that malware can be installed on your computers, which will steal your sensitive files. And that brings us on to number 6. Wherever possible, protect your sensitive files using a password. It may not always be possible, but do check with your IT department whether you can put a password on your USB sticks, your smartphones, and your laptops. If possible, encrypt these devices. If you are in charge of the IT department, see whether you can encrypt all those devices. Remember, if you lose a device, which can happen to anyone, if it is encrypted or password protected, it makes your device harder to break into and also for someone to break in and steal private data. Number 7, always use hard to guess passwords. Many people use obvious passwords like password or the name of their pet or mother or father or girlfriend or child. So try and create something complex like 7 alligators in my bath, and notice how it's been spelt in this slide with a capital S a small e, the number 7, the letter E, N, the @ symbol, L, 1, G, and so on. We've made it more difficult for people to know that it is 7 alligators in my bath by replacing standard letters with numbers and different kinds of characters. Remember not to share the passwords or write it down. We know that it is difficult if you have 20 or 30 different websites and computers and we're asking you to use different passwords. But always remember that if you forget your password, you can always get it reset. Number 8, always be cautious of suspicious emails and links. If you see a suspicious email from someone you don't know, just delete it. Opening any email or clicking on the links can compromise your computer without you ever knowing. So don't automatically assume an email is safe, even if it's from a known sender such as your friend or a colleague. Just check with them that they've sent you that in email. Number 9, don't plug in personal unknown devices without the OK from IT. If you plug in one of these devices, such as a USB stick, an MP3 player, and even a smartphone, it could be that they have a virus on them and you might inadvertently infect your entire organization with that virus. So check out every device that you're going to put into your computer with your IT department. They have a safe computer that they'll test your device with and make sure that it's clean. Number 10, don't install unauthorized programs on your work computer. Malicious applications often pose as legitimate programs like games, tools, or even antivirus. The object of those applications is to fool you into infecting your computer or network has been compromised. So don't click on them, don't download them. Again, check with your IT department, especially if you think the application is going to be useful to you. Installing unauthorized software can not only compromise security, it may also have licensing issues, which could lead to fines to your organization. Let's do a quick recap. People are the first pillar of information security. Cyber criminals want to target you, your trust, your naivety, obsessions, and fears. Knowledge is your only defense. So remember, what you see and hear is not always as it appears. Don't fall for common social engineering tricks like, hey, we're your bank and we want your username and password. Don't click on rogue hyperlinks and pop-ups. And always be on guard and never blindly trust, even if an email is from a friend. Just report it if you think that it will compromise your organization. If you have any questions, do contact us. We have our phone number 0208 232 8008, or just check us out at lanix.co.uk. Thank you for listening.